Good morning. It's 9:17 a.m., January 23rd, 2013. This is a bit of an impromptu Wujo. I'm actually interrupting some of my exercises to make it because it's reasonably important. The title of today's little Wujo is Why I Like to Fight. I used to make a joke that I was looking for a life when this one came along. That's not really a joke. In the Bardo, we choose the next life that we wish to incarnate in. We do so under these particular circumstances that are not germane to today's subject. But if you're an old soul, if you've done it repeatedly and become aware, each and every time you gain a little bit of knowledge, get a little bit more energy, and take that energy with you into the Bardo. And during the process of cleansing the karma from the old life and stacking it up for what you're going to work on in the next one, here in the materium, you may gain enough of the wisdom of the old souls to be able to go and select the life you wish to live. If you go in to these, let's just call it a vending machine, it's not, but it's a good analogy. If you go to the vending machine of the lives that you could live the next time, many people just go there, stumble around, don't know what's going on, and grab the first one and go. And thus they take along all their karma. They're not particularly organized. They have yet to catch on to what's happening. And thus we find the disorder and chaos around us as they bring that impulse and energy down with them into the materium. Other individuals, quite notably, rise up on their own in an organized fashion. Whether they recognize it or not, we all choose these lives consciously because we wish to express certain things. Anyway, and so you get to the vending machine and you can say, oh, okay, so that's what the nature of that life is. I don't want to do that one this time. I'll see if I can find another one. And you look until you find one that seems suitable for what you want to work on. And so I chose the life I have. And one of the elements that you can examine is the setup, the template, the astrological and geophysical template of the life. And so if you're aware enough, you examine all these things and you choose a life and off you go. And so I chose a life where the body is well situated for the demands I intend to make of it, and where the astrology supports a contentious mindset, a martial artist, a warrior, if you will. Now, early on, I learned, I've been in the martial arts since basically since I was 11 years old, and I'm an old fart now, so I've been doing it for multiple decades, 30 plus years in Aikido alone. And I've learned a few things. One of the things that I learned early on was that there is no enemy who can defeat you. It is you who defeat yourself in all battles. If you get knocked down 8 times and you get up 9, you win. And it's that hard and that easy. Conceptually easy, sometimes very difficult physically. But basically it's an issue of spirit, not the body. And so that leads to further thinking, and you learn right off here in the materium that as a warrior kind of a mindset, the Mars energy and all of that kind of crap, that your greatest enemy is yourself. And your own tendencies towards laziness, undisciplined thinking, reacting inappropriately emotionally, etc., 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 all the nasty faults that we have, that we all chastise ourselves for, or that the aware and awake do. And it is that battle, that victory over self, that's real victory in the materium. Because along the way you're going to encounter other individuals that are going to make themselves your enemies. And that's really what the point of this is today. I like to fight because my astrology has prepared me for it, and I harmonized with that in my own personal history. And I like to fight because it is an element of challenge that is unlike challenge in other parts of our life. Now, bear in mind, I say I like to fight, but I'm not saying necessarily I like to fight or contend with a human or an animal or something. Fighting can be expressed in many different ways. It can be expressed on the mat in a controlled fashion, where that's really good fighting. That's quality fighting there, because your partner will stop and critique you as you go along. And thus you get better at fighting. And so I like mat fighting. But you can also fight, for instance, in terms of like the struggle for life, when an error of a crew member capsizes your boat on your raft on a very rapidly running river, and 6 people's lives are at risk, and 5 of their lives plus your own are your responsibility. That's fighting. That's struggle. Again, that's good fighting, and that's good struggle. Regardless of how it ends, I mean, some people are just doomed to drown early, that kind of thing, you know. But nonetheless, if you struggle appropriately, it is still good struggle. And so to an individual like myself, I'm claiming no aggrandizement here, but it's truly a horror for me, the thought of dying old and in bed, infirm. Much better for me to, and I'm quite sure, I mean, I don't have any of the details, but I'm quite sure I shall die violently and hopefully in a glorious battle for a cause, won or not, that is just. And you know, it's the outcome is immaterial. It's the struggle that's important. And this is why things like, as a linguist especially, I get really irritated when people corrupt the words, and I think the corruption is quite deliberate. It's coming from Tavistock and things, but a slight diversion. The word jihad means struggle, and it's always been applied as an internal struggle, and it's the same equivalent as the internal struggle that you find in Wushu or karate or something, where your greatest enemy is yourself, and you must conquer that enemy first. And the Tavistoconians have corrupted it to mean, you know, holy war external to yourself. Now, true, they did it obliquely by having the British and their ilk come down and treat the Muslim world like slaves and enslave them and create horrible oppression, such that the external environment did not allow internal jihad, and so they had to have an external jihad in order to get things calmed down. And that brings us to a point of universe. If you live your life as a couch potato year after year after year after year, at some point universe will become irritated at you because you're not facing the challenges that you're here in the materium to do. And so if you do that, it will provide you with a crisis that will force you to consider all of the things that you have put off for all of those years. So it is thus, in a warrior sense, whether you're personally a warrior or not, I'm not talking about fighting anybody else, but I'm talking about fighting and dealing with your own destiny. It is better to stand up one day and say, okay, I've been a fucking couch potato too long, and I've got to deal with all this shit I haven't dealt with, and get it over with so that I can progress and I can learn, because sitting here obviously just isn't working. And of course we find that the other side of that is that the powers that be are deliberately attempting to create the couch potato environment where there is none of this external stress to cause growth within the individual organisms, because they want to keep you a happy slave, just smart enough to run the machine and just dumb enough to accept it all. Unfortunately for them, universe does not like this, and what they've done is compound the individual error of the couch potato en masse, and so universe has to kick all of our butts to shift the whole mass in a direction, because it has gotten too extreme. It is the nature of universe, and I can prove this mathematically, that it is self-balancing at an energetic level. And the whole concept in any of the martial arts, any of the yogic arts, any of the meditative arts from any tradition that are sound, all go towards the idea of centering oneself. Because that's actually the end goal of universe, is that within the chaos of universe we should each find our own centers. It aids universe in total, in the sense that the Dhamma, the truth of universe, rejoices with the destruction of evil, and the destruction of evil within ourselves is first achieved by becoming centered in that, in the sense that we are not extreme about our own faults nor our own virtues. And so the wise individual treats everything as a challenge, whereas the ordinary schlub finds that everything in their life is a curse or a blessing, and thus they're always wailing and cursing or yippee-ki-ying, and in the next very instant the universe will slap them back the other way, and they just don't get it. So what's happened is, as a planet, we just don't get it. Universe is in the process of slapping the crap out of us. Now, the reason that I'm doing this Wujo today is because I just got done finished listening to, and I'm going to go listen to it again, the latest Max Kaiser on Russia Today, with a discussion with Alex Jones about why Americans have yet to revolt. armed revolt. And what I want to say is that as a forecasting linguist with a track record, dubious or not in your mind, of forecasting the appearance of specific words, my compatriot and myself have been waiting and dreading the appearance of this language at this time. There was some chance that it would not show up. I'm shocked that it showed up as it did in the video. I expected it to actually show up in a written form, and I've been looking for that. So it kind of took me by surprise. However, here it is today. And so it must be said that Igor and myself have had a long discussion for many weeks about how we should approach this should this language materialize. And this is one of the few times I'll intrude on the nature of language materializing, manifesting, in order to provide some level of insight that we may have to those who may be listening. And so here is the situation. We have been dreading the appearance of language about the idea of armed revolt within these United States versus the United States, the corporation chartered in 1877 by the illegal act of Congress. I think it was the 44th Congress, but don't quote me on the number. Anyway, we've been dreading the appearance of the idea of prompts to armed revolt. I see it has also showed up from the anonymous group, and of course the anonymous group is anybody who claims it is, and thus the CIA, etc., can easily take that over and do with it as they choose. And so anonymous was good the very first time they appeared, and was had to be discounted from that point forward because it was easily used tool. In any event, here's the idea. Don't you be an easily used tool. Between now and June 1, my suggestion to anybody who is thinking of any kind of patriotic action, any kind of stupid idea of prompting on armed revolt, is to wait, is to not do that. My suggestion is do not tell others to go on out and get themselves ready for armed revolt. Do not suggest that that is an appropriate response to the global takeover of the planet Earth by the banksters. This will not work. This is also a huge trap that the powers that be and their bankster minions are attempting to spring prior to specific events occurring. They are aware, just as everybody in the woo-woo world is aware, that certain earth changes greater in magnitude than they are prepared to deal with are over the horizon that will occur in this year. The powers that be wish to trigger and their traps and sucker in as many people as they can prior to this occurrence, such to make themselves feel a little bit safer. Their idea is that if they can take off the cream of the crop, the really motivated individuals with skills, the ex-military, the thinking individual with backwoods skills, all of this, if they can take all of these people, this top 3% of the what they think of as the rabble-rousers, the terrorists that have been labeled thus in these United States by the United States corporate powers, if they can take those 3% out, then during and after the upcoming earth changes, they, meaning the powers that be and their minions, will be safer simply because they will not have to contend with this highly motivated, educated, skilled group of individuals. And they will sucker them into a situation, the idea being that they will entrap them into a premature action, into a misreading of the timing that is going on now. Now bear in mind, if you're at all martially oriented, you need to reread The Art of War and understand what is going on. All war is all deception. All of our lives are all deception. We live on a planet in which nature provides deception as one of its key strategies within itself. In plants, animals, it's exhibited constantly around us. So we need to clue in on this and understand that deception will be a huge tool that will be used against us. Also, you can be deceived by individuals like myself And now I may be making a mistake and telling you to hang off and wait if you've got an impetus from universe. I'm not saying don't defend yourself if someone tries to take a taser and shove it up your ass. I am trying to say, though, that don't be a